Peter, what are we what's the first topic? Java streams. Java streams.
I think we talked about this before a little bit.
Yeah.
But apparently Nick was on holiday and therefore he demanded that we talk about it. Just for him.
You keep evangelizing them, so yeah.
Also, before you evangelize them anymore,
Just stop.
just stop. Yeah. Java 9, it's the native loops are going to surpass the streams. That's the what I want to go for.
It's interesting. And there's some more stream methods. So, Java 9 stream, more fun with streams.
More fun with streams.
Yeah.
What specifically about Java streams? Like 101? Kind of, what do you want to do? Because this has a limited audience. So let's do 12 minutes.
Okay, so like start with the basics. Why do you use streams? The obvious first answer is because they look cool and new. But the second answer is, they came along at the same time as Java introduced lambdas into the language. So you previously had to create what they call an anomalous class in line. So you would basically make a fake class and then pass a reference to the class into a function, and then it would use that class. Lambdas meant that you could define the actual function in line, and it was basically just prettier. Like it didn't have a huge difference. And then you could reference, or what it did allow you is that you could reference functions or classes that were already defined and pass those around as parameters. So it kind of lifted functions to almost versus. It's not quite, but almost. And then streams, leveraging that meant that you could move away from the kind of more imperative, tell it exactly how you want the thing you want doing done, to the more functional approach of just telling it what you want and how it implements that. Like for each, like you could do that with an iterator, or you could do like index-based looping, or you could just tell it that for each of these items do this thing, and whether it chose to use one method or another, or whether it split that out into threads, like the JVM can decide that. So you're telling it the what, not the how. So it becomes much more like an SQL statement, but you're saying, data I want, go get it and bring it back. You're not telling it to search this table first and then drive to that table. So that's what streams give you, the ability to describe what, not how. And under the hood, like in the simplest implementation, it might just be doing loops and stuff, but it has the opportunity to inspect what you've asked it to do and add some optimizations or like whatever. There's also this idea of a parallel stream where, in theory, if your operations can be parallelized, because all of them doesn't matter, or like there are certain constraints that you need to think about when you do it, then you literally just do exactly what you did before, except you start with a dot parallel stream instead of dot stream, and under the hood, it may, there's no guarantee that it will, but it may choose to do that. There are lots of caveats though, because it uses the local fork rule, and there are rate condition problems, and there are all the problems of threading, but without you having to manually do the threading. But it doesn't solve all the problems. But that kind of thing, when you're saying, another one's trying to do it for you, and then getting back a result. And you give the compiler the chance to make decisions that make it faster without you having to change your implementation. You don't care.
Most of the time, in the practical world, it's slow because of the overhead and thread.
Well, if you don't use parallel streams, it's just the same as Yeah, so parallel streams have the threading overhead. Normal streams don't necessarily threading.
I don't think it would really make sense that
No.
that you would gain any benefit.
Definitely not. But then the streams interface basically lets you do like Ben said, there's like a stream dot for each. So instead of you doing for each item in this list, then you can do for each item in the stream, and
So you can tell more characters to do the same thing.
It looks more readable like that. Though.
so it's using the same keyword, but in theory, like that for each, you're not saying anything about how it should do that. So it's applying that function to every element in that stream, but you're not telling it to do them in order. You're not telling them to do it in the same thread. Like you're very much removing yourself from the implementation details.
Mhm. There is a limitation to streams as well when you do a for. Like sometimes you might use for, like you might use a for loop to create a counter object. So it doesn't have scope inside of that. So you have to declare what the object that you're going to increment as a final outside of that to be accessible.
So
And
yeah,
not
side
mutate it
effects.
basically.
Side effects are a thing.
Mhm.
Um,
I mean,
And we don't
ultimately,
want
they should
side
promote you
effects.
not to do that.
don't
so-
generally want that. They have this. They talk about. See if I can find the
Generally,
stateless and not interfering. Non-interfering. So it shouldn't be doing counting.
Yes.
It shouldn't be interfering with the stream that it's processing.
Yeah.
So it's literally just takes a value and potentially returns a value. It shouldn't, and that's all it should act on.
Yeah, and you shouldn't refine you shouldn't refine over a for each. There is a filter, isn't there, for that?
So one common anti-pattern is you do a map, and if you do a map and then you return the value that you get, but then the line before that, before you do the return, you do some other work. So you're continuing the stream, but you're like getting a chance. There's also peak, which kind of does that, where so you could do, instead of doing for each println, you could do peak println, I think.
I've not seen peak before.
And that doesn't break the stream, doesn't consume the stream. So you go on to do your for each to something else.
Yeah, it's a debugging tool
Yeah.
to let you.
But that's exactly it, right? It's not meant to be a T. Like you're not supposed to be outputting things. You're like doing work in those. It's purely a chance for you to start.
it's worth noting they're lazy as well, so they only
Yes.
actually execute when the last method, if they don't collect, then it will invoke the string. It doesn't invoke the string and then you collect it.
Yeah, I think the last time we talked about streams, we did an example that could consume an infinite collection of integers, but they would only retrieve ones that they need.
So there's stream support dot. No, streams dot. Stream dot generate. Stream dot generate. Which is under supplier, which takes no arguments and returns objects, and that thing will just be called forever.
So it's like X range, I guess. X range is one that can go on for everything.
It's in one.
The community.
But I think it gets called each time, so we could do.
Just do one. Just do one, and we'll So integer.stream, integer.stream dot,
So that will return a non-completing stream.
yes, yeah.
What's the flag to in the generator then to lose the stream?
So if you consume that, or stick a limit, so integer stream dot limit 10, that'll close off after 10 generations. And interestingly, that return a stream of integers, but there is a stream for primitive types. So there is an int stream, which is different from a stream of ints. So an int stream, there's a double stream and there's a float stream. That gives you operations like average. So you can get the average of your stream and then continues to do the streaming or that kind of stuff. And they're kind of shitty, hard-coded things. Like you can't have your own code have that kind of syntax. It's kind of baked into the language. So you can't implement a stream and have a dot, whatever, I think. Certainly from what I was reading.
It's not to assist with unboxing and boxing.
Exactly, yeah.
Like that, the compiler that.
Yeah. So they're giving you that, you can have the data, and then they add these extra references which for those types make sense. You can also do, I don't know if you can go the other way. If you have an int stream, you can go map to object. So if you, are you still coding that?
I just remembered I have a project that I'm going to do.
You've got 1 minute.
So it's instream dot range, and then there's range exclusive, inclusive as well. So I'll give you a range, and then dot average, and that returns value. I think there's a sum and a count and that kind of stuff. But then there is because they're primitives, there's map to objects instead of just map. So
But instead of map,
instead of average, there's map to object. Which takes a supplier, it gets a primitive and turns it into something else. So I can look up like a value and return an object. If I just use map, I have to keep returning integers or doubles or whatever. But if I do map to object, I can turn it from that into a proper stream, which then doesn't have the average and sum, and that would just let you do the other stuff.
I've got
The one thing that I find really useful is the optional implements a lot of these methods.
trying to find Sorry, Karen.
So if you create a function that turns an optional, that optional has a dot map, and so you can do function dot map and then use the value, and that map function is only going to be called if that optional returns the value, and then there is a dot or else, which means if that mapper didn't return a value, you get this other thing. So you don't have to have that boilerplate of call the function that returns an option and then do an if is present return an error, and then do your work. You can just do call that call function, map to the work that you want to do, and or else throw, or else get a default, or else generate the default, which like it's trivial but simplifies so much code sometimes.
Yeah, so I've got this class of interesting streams that I found.
Yeah.
So you need to be able to box things in order to convert into a regular stream that you can then cut to the list. You can even you can use filtered patterns based on your objects. Yeah, even pick out distinct items of the list. So flat map, or I was doing this to try and understand what flat map is. I forget.
So if we go back to the int range, so do 1 to 10, do if you did a map, and for each of those numbers, I was going to look up another set of values. So I'm going to transform my array into an array of arrays. Flat map would take those array of arrays and turn it into one continuous array. But substitute array for a stream. So generate a stream of values into a stream of streams, and then collapse it back down into a stream of values which were in those streams.
Apparently it is possible to accidentally generate infinite streams.
Iterate distinct. So distinct will consume it forever.
Yeah.
And then
So if you get your ordering wrong,
yeah.
So I could share this in
I guess one last thing is that you can. So I said earlier, I think that the int streams are special in that they have some language level stuff that you can't really reproduce yourself. But streams in general are you can have an implementation of a stream if you have a special case where the implementation details you do care about and you want to use that type of stream yourself. There's an interface like splitterator. If you implement that, you can then take control of how the implementation of those things is done. So in the use of it, you don't need to care about the details, but if the details matter, you can get in there and build your own, and it's just an interface. And then there's a stream support helper that will let you build a generic stream or a split iterator. You can return a thing and it'll iterate over your stuff. So control that you can have, even though you're delegating control to how to something else.
we have. I did build a stream in one of our APIs where so it goes up to the database, pulls back paginated results.
Yeah.
So I wanted to hide all of that so that you could just have a stream over that, and then in the background that would go off and do pagination. So it's quite nice to produce stream producers as well. It's a way of making that easy to work with. But I think in general, so away from Java streams specifically, I think moving to the functional view of things where you try not to write just procedural imperative or even OO, but try and write things in a way that has zero side effects. This way to leverage streams to help you think about things like that. And syntactically, it's really nice. I guess one caution would be for me is you can go really stream heavy, and I find that less easy to read sometimes. So I think having streams, but not huge, complex, doing massive amount of work, you can divide them up into stages. That's
I find that it'll get to a point in a very long chain that I don't know what's happening anymore. But if you go over, so if you went to split our screen on there,
Split stream, sorry.
line 125.
Yeah.
So if you just do like intelligent introduce variable, command V.
On this.
But just put your cursor in the function name and then
So when I do that,
if you
it's
right click it,
introducing.
right click it, and then factory, and then extracts variable. So you can grab any of these things and it's still build a pattern, right? So it's still returning a value. So if you grab that filter, anyone, just grab one. Like up to that point, your transformations, whatever you've started doing, ends up with a stream of string. And at that point, bar is just a stream of string you can start again. Some of the type inference gets confused. So if you're doing a map from string to object, the object that you're mapping to is inferred from the value that you return. And sometimes you can't do a transformation from one type to another because it thought that what you assigned the result of the whole thing to have one type and that transformation happens. But if you introduce variable, you can sort of like debug at what point it goes wrong. And introducing the variable gives it an explicit type, which helps with the type inference sometimes to spot your problem. So suddenly it's a stream of objects when you told it that it was something more concrete, then you can spot where you mistake it.
That's really helpful in illustrating flat maps. So a list of lists, you end up with just
Yeah.
Cool. Next.
Can I propose we leave Git flow until the Git conversation and focus on continuous deployment?
Go for it.
Sounds good.
But I didn't pick that topic, so maybe someone else did.
I'm going to skip out and not do Git flow.
I'm back now. I just didn't want to start talking about Git flow and all the stakeholders and so
Alright.
independent proposals.
Cool. So, continuous integration deployment. Okay, let's start. This house believes that we should deploy every day. Yeah, strongly and stably every day.
It's not conservative, strongly and stably.
Being recorded, you have to be careful.
I don't do that.
That's alright if you do it every day though. But you would have to protect your in-progress work somehow.
Feature flags?
Okay, so I have a problem. I have a problem with that.
Yeah.
So the stuff that I'll admit it, stuff that I write isn't instantly perfect. Like the stuff I did yesterday probably isn't production worthy. No. So I don't want to release everything.
But we can measure.
Measure what?
Measure how production ready you are. And
By going
And
through
what you
a
think
long
is-
process of QA and validation, yes, you can do that.
But we wouldn't be deploying your branch.
no, we haven't been applying the thing that you built. With the group we
So then,
So you
Yeah,
you
so I
have
assume-
some code that you think
I
is
assume
good.
that that's what you would do, but that means that now you've got a continuous burden of release management.
Only if you make it a burden.
But,
Only if you make it a burden.
yeah.
I mean, you could just not care at all. Like,
So what What are the things that make it not a burden?
People make it a burden.
Yeah.
Advocate.
Yeah.
If it just happens, people work around it. I'm not saying we advocate doing that, but that's what other software houses that could do. So.
Okay then, so we had a bit of a discussion about this earlier on, and I think at one point we were kind of the question of is the same as a software when talking about continuous deployment. Because it's fine for Facebook to break shit, because customers,
Is it now?
well, they seem to think so. Their customers are like, oh, it doesn't work, and then 10 minutes later it's fixed, and it's like, they didn't lose millions of pounds, they just didn't see
Facebook
picture
don't
for 10
have,
minutes.
they don't have technology.
No.
Well, they have had a few major incidents, but they release every day that kind of the bug that they still have bugs in the code, but they minimize the impact of who sees that bug.
And it's like there isn't one zip file that they need to deploy, right? So it's individual features that they release every day, which means if there is a breaking release, it's just that feature that breaks. So they have that resilience. I'm not saying that they break all the time, but like famous phrases, they might have like recanted by now, I don't know, but like move fast and break things is one approach when your customers are tolerant to breakages. But if your customers explicitly rely on you as a essentially critical system to their cash flow, then breaking things in order to move fast isn't the right balance. Breaking things is worse than not moving fast if your customers lose £1 million an hour.
So what I'm saying on the Facebook, so they might break something, might introduce a bug, but that feature doesn't get enabled, or that bug doesn't get rolled out. It might only be a particular user that they target to.
Yeah.
That and then they monitor and go, oh, actually the CPU usage is high, roll it back. So they really are just testing it on a very, very small, and you can still kind of do that in enterprise software and meet your SLAs. But if your SLAs are not 5 nines, so that's I think that's the different problem, isn't it? But if we had if there was a customer that was not on the 5 nines and wanted to get this experiment, we can try it on that. But even not, you can try it on a QA account.
Do we offer 5 nines to anybody in our scenario? Like, because you talked about 5 nines, which is like 2.6 seconds an outage a month or something equally ridiculous.
CI is 5 times, isn't it?
4 nines.
Or 4 nines. So
I mean, that's still only 43 minutes an
4
outage
times
a
is
month.
kind of like it has 6 minutes like on there because you just can't do it.
you can still roll that every day to a particular customer. It could be yourself. And that's what Facebook do. So they have a beta of Facebook, which they roll out to every day.
Yeah.
And that's for,
So that makes sense to me.
that's their internal team. And then
But
internal
it comes
employees.
back to like your target audience for that release are more breakage tolerant. But when it comes to like production in a company like ours, not that specific, then it feels like that Jenkins script that can deploy to production shouldn't be the only thing that decides whether to deploy to production, which I think is where continuous delivery comes in.
Yeah.
Right? So continuous deployment is just automate everything and have it happen in order to reduce friction. Continuous delivery is have everything that has except the button is in the way to stop things making it to production without somebody glancing at it at least.
Yeah. So continuous delivery is my code is continuously deliverable.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean that you will
It
actually
gets all the way through the pipeline, it just doesn't get the last push.
and you can automate or not that last push. I would advocate the automation because humans make mistakes, but
I would even go, you can push it to a site that no one has access to.
Yeah.
And then you can because then you can check your operation, all the tasks. Am I logging errors? what's the CPU, all those kind of things. You can monitor them, and then you've got confidence not just in your delivery pipeline, but in your operational support of the service as well.
I would argue that those should be tested anyway, and that shouldn't be a manual. But OT site or something like that is in our scenario a prime candidate, I think.
Because I've heard of issues people doing all the way to the point where they have a jar that can be deployed or what is it file, and then on the big release, no one has access anymore because they haven't tested access for 3 months, and some audit has got through and closed down all the access holes, and they're really big company.
Do you think a company who is contemplating this should make an effort to deploy to some kind of development environment smoothly and nicely without any issues of overlapping environments and things before they consider pushing to develop? Does that sound like usually is the sort of thing?
It does sound very sensible, yeah.
I think a company moving towards it, you don't just go to a day. You don't say, I'm going to deploy every day and then do it. It's a gradual progression. You know, you get your internal deployment sorted first, and then you kind of work down the chain, and you make a conscious effort to try and deploy faster. But you don't set yourself an arbitrary, I'm going to deploy every hour or deploy every day or whatever it might be. Like that's a gradual build-up process.
I think if you have a target, and not saying you need to achieve that target, but like something to strive towards.
Yeah, but I'm not saying you arbitrarily say we're going to deploy at 2 o'clock every day, no matter what, and just go for it.
So how, like not to be boring, but how does continuous deployment interact with the Scrum cycle? Because the deployability of my code is on a 2-week cadence or a 4-week cadence or a 1-week cadence. I commit to giving you something in 2 weeks. I don't commit to giving you everything every day for the next 2 weeks. So is there a difference between, like I said I'll give you this in 2 weeks, and so in 2 weeks I'll deploy it, because I'm not going to continue to do that.
So I guess you've got your product pipeline with regards to features that the team is delivering, and out of those you'll select features that you want to make a release from, and then you build a release candidate out of those features ready to take flight, and then so that can be app sync. That could be ideally it will kind of drift
too backlog for release cycles.
Yeah, but you have a delay between UAT, because you might have been dev complete, QA complete, and then UAT is taking a long time because of whatever reason, and so that feature doesn't make a release candidate until 1, 2, 3 weeks after it's all signed off. And at some point it'll be merged into a release candidate.
Actually, I would argue that as soon as something is essentially QA complete, it can be deployed. Doesn't mean you have to turn it on.
That's
But you've essentially got that code there, and for a small select group of people, you could actually take the data that you generate from that small select group, take it back into your sprint, so you are learning something about the stuff that you've produced.
And what would be finer than QA being able to go to the live system under their QA account and go, I've been through the QA process, but this is so high risk, I want to get into the actual environment that is deployed in.
We just had this conversation with Trevor this morning.
No, he's opted for actually achieving something.
Whoa!
No, sorry, that's maybe sounds a bit harsh. Like he wanted to focus on work. So
It's still just as bad. This is work.
We had a similar conversation around you deploy to a particular blue site and you have some routing to that blue site based on either a user's credential or a header that can be passed in through some middleware on the front end.
Yeah.
And that could target that new backend, and that could be QA. So you could be QA on the actual production URLs, but they get routed to a different cluster.
Yeah, like it seems like Gateway has come up to solve every one of the problems I think, but it's like actually Gateway.
So that's another way where you don't necessarily need feature flags, because your feature flags is actually your gateway. And as a developer, you don't have to litter your code with if statements.
So to me, it feels like there's no way to get this data as far as I can think off the top of my head. But it feels like you need to make certain assertions about the feature that you're deploying in order for that to make any sense in my head. If your feature consumes data and presents it differently on a new endpoint that nobody's consuming yet, then yeah, there's absolutely zero risk of that causing any problems. But if your feature writes data to a table that the old feature also uses, it changes the format, or it has a path through it that does a delete star from star, whatever. Doing continuous deployment just because you have feature flags and doesn't feel safe.
But it's been through the QA cycle. Like you've asserted as much as you normally would that something is.
You would identify
It's
that
safe.
problem. Oh yeah. So for example, the database column, you've changed the database column, or you're gonna now storing it in a different format.
Yeah.
You could do an intermediate release to say, okay, create this new column, and all new records will be written to both columns.
Yeah.
And then you can do something that will transfer the data and then remove the gradual over.
This is exactly what we're doing in markup. So markup phase 2, we want to change the underlying data structure so that there are column families instead of secondary. And so the first phase is to write the right path to production, and that will then start writing new data to those column families. There's a tool that will retroactively read historical data and produce the data that's missing. Anytime, there's no pressure on that. Before you release the read path, and then once that's done, you can feed them back to users.
But you only, as a developer, you would only think of that path if you had the pressure of my code's going to get deployed really soon. So therefore, I have to think about this problem now, because normally developers go, I'll just rename that column, I'll just change it to this, and continue, because I don't care when it gets released. If your code was getting released the following day or the following week or something, or it was a bit more immediate, you have to think of these problems slightly differently.
But yeah, it doesn't encourage you to think of what you build, how you build it, when you build it.
And there's other companies that there was a good Hacker News article from the company, but they adopted that kind of. They wanted people to think like that, and they just put the pressure on. Right, okay, we're going to have a release every day of every system. So now everyone has to think of this, and now it's everyone's responsibility, and not just the people who did the release. But that was a cultural change across the company, because they wanted people to, because they were sick of people just renaming database columns and not thinking about the consequences. And it was just crashing all of their releases and rolling them back.
Yeah.
So they made it a kind of an absolute rule, and then people just had to get behind it.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm not saying we're in that position.
but we've experienced that kind of thing where like it's becoming embarrassing, the cliche, but it works on my machine. It's the battle cry of a program that didn't think about what this looked like when it gets deployed.
Yeah.
Like we have that a lot, or we have that a lot. And I agree that if you kind of need some pressure to have a program that think about what it'll be like when it's deployed, because ideally, like I would just keep programming locally and test it, testing it's fine.
Exactly.
You don't solve the problem. Who cares about customers?
I just keep trashing my database and it's on my app. Yeah, that's fine.
But yeah, if it is being applied to something, and that other people are being hired for breaks, then then you have to solve the problem. I would like the people who get annoyed not to be our very, very high paying customers, but yeah, like that pressure of just some external, it's like just community person, like that social thing of yeah, somebody's going to get pissed off.
Yeah.
Makes people think.
But that's, I think it's everyone who's got the responsibility, everyone who writes code's got that responsibility. They just don't really, people tend to ignore it because it's not there at the moment. And I think that by moving it to your releases to be often, you have to confront it sooner. And that's, but then you don't have to, technically, you don't have to release, you don't have to switch it on for your customers.
Yeah.
It could go to, say, a QA site, but QA's got existing data and you've got to maintain that existing data. You can't crash that environment every time you do a release to it.
Yeah.
So therefore, you're testing your database migration processes. But the problem around that Active.C though is then you have, when you switch it on for your customers, all this database work on QA, and you've just then decided, yeah, I'm happy with all of these features, I'll roll out to production. You have to repeat all those steps again.
Yeah, it's back to the cows versus pets thing, isn't it?
And you haven't really fixed the problem. You're just making a bigger release to go into production.
Yeah.
You've said, okay, this all works, now we have to, so you've released, say for the column change, if you break it down, it's like 3 releases you would have to do that column name change. If you do that on one environment, and then you would have to repeat those 3 steps on the other environment. Everyone's following?
Yeah, I think essentially it's like deployment pipelines. You know, it's a right now I need to release that. Click a button and it goes and does it for you. Like that's where the power of automation comes in, because it's I've done this, I know it works. It is the same deployment process that I'm following. I'm just pointing it at a different environment. And it's where the importance of QA environments or UAT environments that look like production, or a staging environment that looks like production, it becomes really important, because then you don't get oh, but it works in QA, but oh wait, QA is not got a sharded database or whatever it might be, that then trips you up when you go to production.
Yeah. All right, the mundane QA, we ran a bunch of manual change scripts that aren't in release, and so it works in QA because we fixed that manually. Trying to deploy it, those changes are modified.
Yeah.
And then release that.
Yeah. Or QA just, we're running an entirely different version in the database platform.
Yeah. Still bitter.
So
Okay. So, we got conclusions? Are we gonna?
I don't know.
So I think in terms of conclusions, one thing I would say is actually, because it's a process, like our teams can work towards doing as much or as little of that as they're comfortable with their components, which is made a little bit harder because we're all working on the same thing at the minute. But
we're kind of practicing continuous deployment right now, right? Jenkins is continuously deploying. I would be way more on board with continuous deployment if we could get that
Stable. Yeah.
But that isn't me saying that it's hard to do this. Look at dev deployment, because there's not the same pressure to make that perfect. It's like, like with everything, if you're writing it over yourself, it's not going to be as polished as if you're writing it to somebody else. But I think if we did try to focus on getting that smoothed out, it's kind of like demonstrates that this process is reproducible, it is reliable, and it is something that we can trust.
Yeah. So what I was going to say was, like, as our teams, we've all got all the assert that we can we agree, but through it in our teams, work together to try and kind of move us in that direction if that's where we say we want to go. Does that make sense? I feel like I've just waffled for that point.
It's an interesting change in mindset from the way that we traditionally think about the deployment process. It is very much a sort of NASA style go no go.
Yeah.
And not a manual deployment. Because it seems like there is more to think about than the bash script, but we've already moved closer to having it be fully automated.
Yeah, I can imagine a scenario where there are 2, maybe 3 go no goes per team per week, where it's literally a 10-15 minute after stand up. Okay, we've got 3 things that we want to raise. There really go.
It's still a huddle, but it's huddling around somebody typing.
Just going.
Yeah.
Like it's about making the releases small enough that they're lower risk as well. Because I think at the moment our deployments are quite voluminous, like they're quite big. So there is quite a lot of risk, but it's about bringing them down and trying to make them smaller and smaller.
So is what you're saying that because we're forced into a frame model, that things accrue over time into a bigger release, and that's actually worse?
Partly. I mean, catch the train with big deployments is a good model to follow, but I think it has other consequences as well.
Applying its self-fulfilling prophecy.
Slightly. But it's also to do with the way that we think about releasing features. So, we think about releasing virtual staging environments, and you think, right, well, what's going to go into that? There's 5 or 6 components.
That's a good point. So one of the things that I think makes me most nervous is that we don't have good isolation within our services. So, like, we know we're not doing proper microservices in DAM. We're also not really doing microservices when we build things like BSE. It's not a microservice, it's a separate API endpoint. That doesn't make it a microservice because I can't deploy that endpoint without also making sure that the versions of the other endpoints are updated. Change the JSON and they rely on the JSON being the same format. Oh, that one shares a Dynamo table with that one. So we'll update both of those. So can't really automate a process that potentially has these tendrils extending through other people's projects and other teams' deployables. So without that isolation, it is much more difficult to actually get a successful failure-free automated deployment.
One of the problem with that is because if you have a story that says deliver this feature to customer, and that's changes on the UI, changes on changes to the data.
Yeah.
And that's the bundle that gets deployed. Then huge impact. If it could be divided up into, phase 1 is we're going to make database change. It's going to be completely backwards compatible, so the API can present that. But we need to add a story to the backlog, which is once this epic is complete, we need to go back and type that up, and that's factored in the process. And so there's a much more discrete set of things that get delivered over time with carefully captured things that resolve any peeling activities. That means you can do things very small, incrementally, backwards compatible, in a way that's much more piecemeal. And getting product owners and business and story writers to maybe think in those terms.
Yeah, I mean, to solve this service segregation.
But even with service, because we can't fix DAM, we can't go and split that up. So maybe that strategy of splitting things into, away from just features. These particular services.
Yeah.
I do think there's definitely something in that. Because we do go, well, like even if you think about planning that we did yesterday, we're thinking about UI, back-end, data sources, all kind of roll them to one to deliver a feature. Like we don't look at it in discrete bits.
Discrete deployment pieces. Yeah. If we're going to maybe more actively think about the deployment side of things.
Maybe a deploy the result of the story every single time.
That's the way I kind of think about it in my head. Even if the feature is, it's not, they're not aiming to be deployed. I always think, oh, I don't want any loose ends left there.
But I think if that's our work, so rather than like product, like if they're synthetic, so that maybe happens there isn't a way to make that easy to do, but like a customer doesn't care if JSON response has got like an extra field in it. Yeah, like that isn't really a feature for a customer. It needs a UI calling that and now using that extra field and displaying it in a way that's useful. And so it does, like from like a feature does need to be like full vertical slice, which does mean crossing concerns. But then when we think about decomposing that into tasks for us to do, then I probably agree that we should be thinking about like how would we automate this, or how would we deploy this in a way that makes sense.
Yeah, although Parker says, you don't necessarily have the same product owner for the back end component as you do the front end. We do in our case, but that's not necessarily a given in every situation, is it?
I think it's a smell if you don't.
Okay.
Yeah. Like cross-functional teams own features, or teams own products that are self-contained sets of features. Just generally, you might have some ancillary things that you need to go get and negotiate, but generally you'll own the top one. Ideally. Even if it's a slot on a website that your UI gets injected into, maybe you own that section. A sidebar, your team owns that sidebar, and you control that top to bottom. But then the team owns the page or sidebar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Any more?
So I think the argument, just very briefly, the argument that we're a special enterprise company possibly would stand if the likes of financial institutions were doing this. And Elizabeth.
I think every business has risks, and try to kind of say that our risks are greater than another business is not really fair. I think everyone's, at the end of the day, we're writing stuff for our customers, and we should really gear up to try and make that as smooth as possible. That's why I look at it.
We should learn how they mitigate those risks. Make sure they're not just.
Oh, yeah, there's mitigation of the risks, but
I think I'm more of a risk averse rather than trying to mitigate as well. You just take a conservative approach because rather than saying.
So I think if you have a dedicated team and like 200 engineers that work just on doing this automation and making this amazing, then you can trust that process, and it's less scary. But when you're doing it yourself and you have to get that right, then the abundance of caution is just like, can you check everything? And it's just
But using the release guild model seems to improve that.
Yeah.
Because it's no longer, right, we've got deployment, throw it over the wall, ops now deal with it. It's now 11 PM because we haven't fully thought this through. Manually editing files and like, because now we have a release process, we have a release guild where it brings it across teams.
Yeah.
It's now actually thought about it like this. And it's not just, yes, we need a release team
And it's the first step in, oh, I'm writing this feature. I'm going to be involved in the release. I've got to make sure I'm doing things right.
Because you're sat in the room and everyone looking at you going, yeah, well, yeah, get the crowd out.
Cool. We done?
I think so.
Bye bye.